We're just getting word from our colleague Monica Alba at the White House that White House coordinator for the Middle East, Brett McGurk, is heading back to the region this week for hostage talks. This is families of Americans believed to be held by Hamas met with National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan this morning. The White House meeting comes as President Biden announced a new ceasefire proposal Friday for the families. This wait has been agonizing. It's been nearly 8 months since their loved ones were kidnapped by Hamas. Kidnapped, tortured, injured. They don't know. The not knowing when they will return is excruciating. Joining me now from their White House meeting are Ruby Chen, father of murdered American hostage Itay Chen, Orna Nutra, mother of American hostage Omer Nutra, Adi Alexander, father of American hostage Idan Alexander, and Jonathan Dekelchen, father of American hostage Sagi Dekelchen. So, Ruby, you learned that Itay had died.
Killed.
Had been killed, I should say. And as far as you're concerned, there are 8 American hostages, 5 that we believe are still living, 3 who have been killed. And you want Itay's remains, you want him returned.
I think that's the basic humanitarian thing. I'd like to also point out that the last 24 hours was difficult for all the hostage families, where 4 additional families were notified that their loved ones were killed, evidently after coming out alive or being taken alive into Gaza and being killed because of the long time that has gone since the initial attack till today.
And 3 of them were elderly, 3 of them believed to be in their 80s.
Indeed so. And I think any family would want to see closure on having the ability to mourn for their loved one and having its soul at a place that is where we could be together. And I would challenge any imam from the Muslim faith, we are all children of God, to find some reference inside of the Quran that says that taking dead bodies as negotiation chips is something that the Quran calls for.
And Orna, your son was serving in the IDF in a tank defending the Gaza border. What did Jake Sullivan tell you about the chance of getting a male soldier out in this new ceasefire proposal?
Well, my understanding is that the proposal that's on the table now is a phased proposal, but it includes all the hostages, including the male hostages and the IDF soldiers, and including the bodies of the deceased. And that the government's going to be working hard to make sure that the different steps of this deal are followed through on, and it's an all-inclusive deal. And I have to keep hopeful that this happens, because it has to happen. This has been almost 8 months since we've had any sign of life from Omer, and it's been a devastation for all the families and, of course, for the hostages that are still there. This didn't just happen on October 7th. It's still happening.
So, Jonathan, your son hasn't met his baby daughter, your grandchild, born while he's been held in captivity. Just talk to me about that and living with this and remaining as active as all of you are, as passionate, obviously, to keep holding these meetings, traveling, pressing leaders on both sides to try to do something. What keeps you going?
What keeps me going is this vision that someday very soon, tomorrow, I hope, by virtue of the deal that's been proposed and is on the table, that someday soon, Sagi is going to walk into some room, I hope on his own 2 feet. His 2 little girls will run into his arms, and he will meet for the first time his now 6-month-old daughter Shahar, and be able to hug all 3 of them with his wife, who miraculously survived the massacre on Kibbutz Nir Oz on October 7th. And we are now in deep mourning because of the 5 people who were declared dead yesterday by the Israeli army, 4 of them are from our small kibbutz community.
I've been to Nir Oz on my last trip to Israel. The devastation is, just appalling. How did your daughter-in-law survive?
There were small miracles on Nir Oz that day. We know now that of the 400 or so people who were present that morning, 54 of them, at least 54, were murdered, and 79 taken hostage. 35 remain in captivity. She survived with others. We can't explain everything, but sheltering in our attached safe rooms, the terrorists, although they tried, were unable to access the safe room. In other places they were, and in those places where they could access the safe room, the people who were there, women, children, men, women, were either executed on the spot or taken as hostages. We're just incredibly grateful. I have a daughter with her family who also miraculously were able to survive that day. But life only renews. And I think I speak for all of us here and for all of the hostage families. Life can only begin, you can only think about beginning anew when the hostages come home, in whatever state they are.
It's completely understandable. And from what I saw, some of those homes with people probably in those safe rooms were burned to the ground as well.
Very dear friends of our family, 3 generations, were burned alive in one home, the Kedem Simantov family. A family of 5 with 3 little children. Shachar, my newest granddaughter, is actually named after one of the little girls who was burned alive on Nir Oz on October 7th by Hamas terrorists.
Adi, with all of this tragedy around you and with the stalemate between Hamas and the Israeli leaders and all of the obstacles, how do you keep your spirits up?
We have to remain focused and hopeful, and here we go. We in the same position that we were back in January and back in May. And when our president speaks, I think people should listen. It's almost the same deal on the table as Hamas proposed it. And we kind of waiting one more time. Here we go. Let's go and just execute it.
Ruby, President Biden was interviewed by Time magazine, and he was asked whether, I'm paraphrasing, whether he believes that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not agreeing to a deal because he's interested in his own, quote, self-preservation, political self-preservation. Do you share that view?
So before that, maybe I'll answer it from a different perspective. I'm a New Yorker. We just came back Sunday from the march for the focus on the hostage families, and you saw the amount of people behind us. Not just the Jewish community, but actually all parts of the city of New York. And I want to give a shout out to the New Yorkers.
Did that lift your spirits?
It did. We had the governor, we had the mayor, and we had congressmen attending, and many people just, plain folks that came out. And I think, as well, when we speak about the Prime Minister Netanyahu, at the end, it's his deal. He proposed this deal, and what the president echoed on Friday was the deal that the War Cabinet, led by Benjamin Netanyahu, approved. So I honestly believe, and this is also the view of the White House, that the onus at the moment is on Hamas. And once that they come back with a positive response, we believe that Israel will be able to move forward with that.
I mean, clearly they could end this tomorrow if they would release the hostages. Orna, at this stage, people are not being fed, people are not getting fuel. I mean, the fighting in Rafah, and many in Israel believe that this fighting has to take place to, quote, eliminate Hamas. The generals, both Gallant, Benny Gantz, others in the War Cabinet, and the U.S. intelligence and military believe that it's not possible to, quote, eliminate Hamas. You can get the leaders, hope to get Sinwar, but there's no eliminating Hamas through military means without jeopardizing the lives of the hostages. Is that an accurate reflection of how you feel?
I think most people in Israel and even in the war cabinet and in the government agree at this point that there are war goals and there are urgent goals, and that the priority now is on bringing back the hostages, and that should take place before, anything else at the moment. And of course, the security of Israel is important. It will always be. But at the moment, bringing the hostages home is the most urgent issue. And you mentioned, people on all sides that are suffering. And I just want to share that yesterday we were part of a meeting in New York City that took place between moderate Islamic leaders in the community and hostage families that were local hostage families such as ours, and also families that came from Israel. And I want to point out that among the hostage families, this is not just a Jewish issue. There were hostages that were taken from all major faiths. And at this meeting yesterday, there were Muslim families of hostages that came from Israel, and together with other families met with these moderate leaders who were brave and courageous enough to speak up and say that this is not part of their faith, and that the hostages need to be let go, and that's a global humanitarian issue. And they're brave enough to say that this is not condoned by Islam and that they don't condone it. So we were very hopeful, and optimistic to hear those messages, and we hope that they're amplified, because I really believe that the moderate voices, the majority who is usually silent, should speak up. This is the time.
Well, on that hopeful note, I just first want to say about Itay, may his memory be a blessing, and the 4 souls who were found dead yesterday as well, the 4 gentlemen, and just praying and hoping that this time it works.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan and Eddie and Ruby and Orna.